watching special coverage here on the Rise News of Nigeria's 2023 presidential inauguration event. So, a historic moment today, the crowning of the man, Bola Tinubu, as Nigeria's new president, a man who's managed to position himself in a place where he's taken out all his competitors in the field for president and is now in the driver's seat.
Absolutely. Well, we know the saying, don't we? If ifs and buts were candy and nuts, every day would be Christmas. So we'll see how it all turns out, how wild and topsy-turvy the narrative will be because of all the things that could happen to and around him amid the tough challenges ahead. Well, one man who's been watching the transition process closely is the author, columnist, and former member of the House of Representatives, Dr. Dakuku Peterside, who is a chieftain of the ruling APC party and was the Director General of the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, or NIMASA, and he joins us now. Thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Thank you, and good evening.
And you were at the inauguration event at Eagle Square. What did you take away from it?
Well, you could feel an air of excitement. Again, that is expected. Humans, by nature, likes something new. And in this particular instance, it appears that it represents a ray of hope. It's a symbol of a new beginning. After 8 years of very challenging situation, I don't want to say 8 years of 8 years of very challenging situation. Nigerians think that at least this offers us a chance to start afresh. And again, to cap it all, I think the president made what I consider an inspiring speech. He made a few commitments, promises to Nigerian people, raised hopes here and there. And like they always say, it is good to make policy statements, but the devil is in the details.
Absolutely.
And more importantly, in the execution, the actions that will follow. We've seen in the very recent past where presidents, governors, leaders made very clear vision, wonderful policy statements, but very often it wasn't just followed with the right action, and we didn't get any results. So I think that the first foot forward is usually important, and I want to believe that the president has put the first foot forward right.
And you did repeat twice, 8 years of very challenging situation. Those 8 years belong to the APC and the just outgone President Muhammadu Buhari. But I want to ask you, I mean, does this make the job tougher for President Tinubu, who just yesterday at the inauguration dinner vowed not to make excuses?
Yeah, indeed, it will make his job tougher. The indicators are there. We have the highest inflation level, I'm sure, from 1999 to date. We have the highest unemployment level from 1999 to date. It's not looking good. You can see that we've got a dual currency exchange rate that has discouraged foreign direct investment.
Which you talked about today as well.
Which he talked about. The economy is not in good shape. I don't think there should be any form of pretense about that. The economy is not in good shape. All the indicators are not good enough. Of course, we face this challenge of insecurity. Our educational system is not top-notch in the current situation, as so is most of the time on strike. And so he's coming at a time where there are enough landmines. And I'll point out three critical ones. First, there's actually no money to fund his programs. Our debt profile is the highest in recent times, whether domestic debt or foreign debt. Then our foreign reserve is at its lowest dip from 1999 to date. Our foreign reserve is at the lowest dip. And so he's coming at a very challenging time. So those are landmines. And I don't think the country has ever been this divided from 1999 to date. There's tension everywhere. There's a sense of, I don't want to say, deep division. So I acknowledge that there are challenges, acknowledge, but again, we have hired him to do a job. If there are no challenges, we won't hire him in particular. I think that he was hired because Nigerians believe, intuitively or otherwise, that he can fix the economy, he can fix insecurity, he can address our most pressing challenges.
Right.
And so I'm happy he started by saying that no, he won't tender any excuse, he won't give any excuse. Yeah. He's hired to do a job, he will do the job. I'm sure he's analyzed the situation, he's identified the challenges, and he put together a credible team that will fix it.
Well, let's say that some Nigerians believe he can do the job. What he's now got to do is to convince the other Nigerians who don't believe that he can. And the first way to be seen to deal with that challenge, I mean, you mentioned a lot of them, I mean, including, of course, as Adesiwa pointed out earlier, insecurity. What we want to see is the appointment of a competent cabinet to start. That's the way to do it, isn't it? To give that initial sense of confidence.
Well, you're very correct. I don't know if you had the opportunity of reading my column today.
Yes, I always read your columns.
In these days,
I find them most engaging.
Newspaper. And I said there are three critical stumbling blocks. And one of the three critical stumbling blocks could be the quality of his cabinet. It could be a source of strength or it could be a stumbling block. And I said that in many other climes, in many other jurisdictions, including Nigeria, presidents succeed or fail based on the quality of their cabinet. Presidents are remembered or they become infamous based on the quality of their cabinet. And that in the current situation, this is not the time to use the cabinet position, to pay political IOUs. There are many other ways to pay political IOUs. You could give them contracts, you could engage them in other ways. At this time, we need competent, credible, experienced, and knowledgeable persons to man cabinet positions. And they're all over the place. This is not the time. I'm happy that Mr. President himself said he will be president of all Nigerians, irrespective of political affiliation, ethnic, or religious orientation. That's not going to matter to him. The era of politics is over. Now this is time to govern. And like he said, the overarching philosophy of his government is that he will govern. He will not rule over us. He will govern all Nigerians. He will not rule over us. And that implies that he's coming with a mindset of a servant leader. I'm ready to serve all Nigerians. I'm not coming to lord over you. And serving means that he will consult extensively. He will listen he will feel the pulse of the people. He will listen. He will align his own aspiration with the aspiration of the people. And indeed, a credible cabinet is the starting point. It's an indicator that this is a serious government determined to serve Nigerian people. And so if you fill your cabinet with tired governors who just couldn't perform, ex-governors who couldn't perform, Nigerians will say, no, this government ought not to be taken seriously. If you bring deadwood, people who they know are not, and we all live in a small society after all, we know those who are competent, those who've got some competence, those who've got something to bring to the table. So if you fill your cabinet, and again, if you listen to his speech today, he said he will bring a lot of young people to cabinet, he will bring a lot of women to cabinet, and he will give priority to young people and women. And for me, that's heartwarming, that the president identifies the fact that he needs young people in his cabinet, knowledgeable young people. We've also had a governor, like I've always said consistently, we had a governor that was young, but that was a disaster in this country. He's still in office. So being young is not just enough.
Yeah. Agreed.
So I agree with you that the quality of his cabinet, then the need to reconcile Nigerians. Nigeria's never really been this divided, and that could be a stumbling block. So if he governs in such a way that it will appear that he favors one part of the country above the other, then it might just constitute a stumbling block. So he's going to be, I expect that he'll be inclusive. He will look for competent men and women. He will be fair to all manner of people. And his speech today, for me, reinforces my belief that he will try to be fair to all and he will lead all. He will be present for all and will not be present for a section of the country or a social group or a class of people. So sometimes you may not just be present for an area, but you be present for a class of people. And you simply will replace one cabal with another cabal. And what part of the challenge we face in this country is the fact that presidents are surrounded by a few power gluts who are not interested in the affairs of the ordinary people. And with time, the president gets disconnected. And if he gets disconnected, it no longer feels the pulse of the people. So it begins to rule and not to govern.
Indeed, you said a lot, but I really want to ask you, because we're talking about cabinet, would you be angling for any position? And would you accept any if you're given?
I like that.
I like that. You know, that's why I can be very audacious. All right. Now, I say it this way. I put it this way. I'm always willing to serve, but in a context.
What does that mean?
One is that I'm not desperate. If I can't add value, of course I won't participate. And if I don't think I'm given a role where I will actually add value, I will simply thank you and decline. Will I go out of my way to lobby for any position? I've never done it before and I challenge anybody and I won't do it.
Interesting.
Well, that's an interesting point. And I wonder, I mean, you're a writer, you're a columnist, you've done considerable, I mean, you're a member of the APC party, you've been a member of the House of Reps, you've done considerable research, I imagine, on Bola Tinubu and perhaps encountered him in the past. What about his wife, Oluremi Tinubu, who I thought was I mean, if you talk about women being at the forefront of things, I mean, she came across as really impressive. She's a senator and she now succeeds Aisha Buhari as Nigeria's first lady. Could she be the key or part of the key to make his presidency and himself more accessible to the Nigerian people?
Well, my take is that ordinarily, the wife or the spouse of the president could have been a man. And let's speak specifically in the context. The wife of the president has no constitutional role. But listen, this is somebody who is by your side all the time. You wake up in the morning, and at the time you're about to go to bed. And so it could influence your opinion, your views about issues. Aside from that, she's got your ears. And she could be a sounding board. Now, place that, juxtapose that with the current first lady. By training, she's an educationist. Not only is she an educationist, she's been involved in politics, so she understands the game of engaging with the people, managing diverse interests. And I believe that will be a source of strength. Her training as an educationist, and an educationist is a psychologist. You know, a psychologist is you're able to get into a classroom. You know that all the children in your class are not equally endowed. All the students in your class or pupils in your class are not equally endowed. You know, so you need to give some attention here to bring this person up and all of that. And it's same in politics where you've got too many interests, contending interests that you need to balance. And that sometimes most of these interests are driven by their own personal interests. So it could be ego. So I believe that she would deploy those skills over time, you know, to make for a better presidency. I believe that she will be an asset.
Right.
Well, you know, I wanted to go back to healing the nation you talked about.
I say it's key.
You say it's key indeed. And today he made some profound statements, in my own opinion. Let me quote him. He says, whether from the winding creeks of the Niger Delta, the vastness of the northern savannah, the boardrooms of Lagos, the bustling capital of Abuja, or the busy markets of Onitsha, you are all my people. As your president, I should serve prejudice towards none, but compassion and amity towards all. In specific terms, what do you think that President Tinubu can do to pacify? I mean, you talked about putting credible team together to govern, to help him govern the people. But in specific terms, what else can he do to pacify and heal this country you have described as divided and, deeply divided like never seen before?
All right. One is that there's a perception that the Igbos, which constitute the Southeast, did not support him. Most of them voted for the Labour Party candidate. It's a perception, whether it's real or not. I think maybe beyond perception.
The results
the
show.
Reality, the results show. Now, how he treats the people of the Southeast will be an indicator. Now, the North was divided over his candidature. And the North has a peculiar challenge. Most of the insecurity occurs in the North, as in the northern part of the country. Now, the northern part of the country constitutes the food basket of the nation. So when you talk about agriculture, if you give attention to agriculture, you are indeed giving attention to the North. And, giving attention to the agriculture has a multiplier effect. It means you fix infrastructure in that area, you try to fix power, you try to do small-scale industries, to process.
And obviously you have to fix insecurity.
You have to fix
insecurity.
insecurity.
Farm if there's insecurity.
You can't go to farm without fixing security. So again, the way you manage the complex situation in the northern part of the country is another indicator. Now again, you know that he came to power on the platform of APC. And so he should govern in such a way that it transcends his party to be inclusive of other political parties. It's not about giving you cabinet portfolio. You can give cabinet portfolio to your friends that you planted in other political parties to destabilize those parties. That's a perception. It's beyond that. But if you see a competent person in the PDP anywhere, and you bring the person to government, treat the person fairly, that's a different thing. So there are a few, sometimes they say it's symbolic. But beyond the symbolism of it, there are a few things you could do to convince the people that you're indeed president for all. Now, again, whether he likes it or not, he carries a burden of Muslim tickets. So there's a perception among the Christian community, and I like the fact that the vice president, elect now vice president, keep emphasizing that there's no Islamization agenda. Please, I like to see the president walk the talk. And I like to, I'm sorry that I'm using the vice president as a case study. He's done a few symbolic things. He's appointed his chief security officer, a Catholic from Anambra State. That's commendable. He's appointed his ADC from the Christian minority North, a Christian security officer from Bauchi, the northern part of the country. You may say those things are symbolic, but it shows a sense of inclusiveness. The president can take it to the next level. And so, now, hypothetically speaking, if the president wakes up this evening and announces 4 appointments, all 4 are from the Southwest, what signal are you sending?
It's a rotten signal, isn't it? Well, let me sort of turn to the optics of President Tinubu's politics, coming off the back of the optics of President Buhari's politics. Is he, like his predecessor Buhari, likely to have a traditionally quite smaller inner circle from which many are crowded out? Is he likely to keep an insular inner circle, or is he likely to have a wide circle of experienced professional sort of political strategists who will guide him and urge him to do this and not do that, and to take the long political view, if you like, something that was certainly the perception was that it was missing from the previous APC administration?
Well, my response will be two-pronged. The first prong is that the Bola Ahmed Tinubu that we read of, interacted with 10 years ago, 20 years ago, may not likely be the same person today. And there are many reasons. Age is one. You know, there's something about the strength of youth. And so if he's not as strong as he used to be 20 years ago, then the chances are that he would depend on a small circle to process a few things. In itself, it's not wrong if he chooses the right inner circle. So I like to be understood. If you choose an inner circle of mediocre, self-driven persons, then it will show in the quality of governance. In many other climes, presidents have inner circle, but inner circle of good men, knowledgeable men, credible men, patriots, those who put the interest of the country above every other consideration. But when you have a small circle of those who are driven by their own selfish interest and are incompetent, do not have the right knowledge, they are not patriots, then the whole world will begin to cry out about a certain cabal. And so the cabal itself is not negative in the strictest sense of it. Even in families, man, wife, children, your wife is your innermost circle.
I mean, that's why it's a nuclear sort of family. Isn't it? Yeah.
So you're not going to gather all your children and your wife before making certain decisions. You know, like I keep saying, there's an analogy, you know, about things that can be discussed in the bedroom between partners alone, things that can be discussed in the sitting room, in the living room where the children are there.
And of course in the other room.
No, I've thought about the other room.
I'm just
the sitting room, then the marketplace. There are things as a family you can discuss at the marketplace. And so in itself, cabal or inner circle is not negative. It's the application.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thankfully he said today that, you know, there'll be more youths and more women in my cabinet, signifying a difference from what we've had where it was relegated to the other room. But
was it really relegated to the other room?
How many women did we see in that cabinet? When the president says...
It's not just about women.
When the president...
He mentioned specifically women.
In women. I mean, he says his wife in particular, you know, but let me ask you about people the president can depend on, because he talked about having that kitchen cabinet, which is not negative in itself. The role of the vice president, because we did not just have a president, we also have a vice president that was sworn into office today. Former President Goodluck Jonathan recently said the role of deputies and vice has been reduced to spare tires. Is that what we're likely to see here?
Not like
tell us about,
before you land.
Tell us about a President Tinubu and Vice President Kashim Shettima. What are we likely to see?
All right, my take.
We've got about 1 minute and 30 seconds left.
All right, my take
Yeah.
is that Vice President Kashim, listening to him, and I know him fairly well, he's knowledgeable. He understands this country. He has transferred this country. He was in banking for many years, and in 12 years rose to the top to become general manager in a bank. And he's not been in politics for too long. And in less than 18 years of being in politics, he was 4 years as commissioner, 8 years as governor, and 4 years as senator. He's risen to the top. So there must be something unique about him. And he believes in Nigeria. He's a patriot, he's knowledgeable, he's competent. And he's got vast knowledge. I don't see anybody relegating him to the role of a spare tire. Not when a man has some value to bring. He's got a lot of value to bring to government. And he's young.
Yeah, but other people have had value. I mean...
Very true.
You know.
Very true. The context is different.
Yeah.
What makes the difference between one situation and the other is context. The context is different. And he's been Bola president's associate forever. So it's not like somebody imposed him on the president. He's been his long-term associate. There's mutual trust and mutual respect. That's the difference.
Right. Okay.
And the president understands that he's very knowledgeable, very competent, and he's got the right national network. And it's key.
Well, I'm sure you left your party sort of halfway banging away to come
happy
here.
now.
So we're going to let you go back to it. But we thank you very much indeed. Your insights, your hindsight, your foresight, always tremendously welcome. And Dr. Dakuku Peterside is an author, columnist, former member of the House of Representatives, chieftain of the ruling APC party, and was the Director General of the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Charles. Thank you, Adesua.
Thank you.
Thank you, listeners.